Hi there, and this is video number 2. Amara goes to Picacho Peak State Park. This is a state park that is outside of the Phoenix area, about an hour and a half drive down towards Tucson. And it is an important place because it is in fact the site, as you can see from that little marker there, of the westernmost battle of the United States Civil War. It wasn't really a big battle, it was just simply a little skirmish. About a dozen Union troops were part of a larger group that got separated out under the command of Lieutenant James Barrett and got into a bit of a firefight with some Confederate soldiers. Those soldiers managed to kill Lieutenant James Barrett as well as a couple other guys. However, they were also somewhat of losers because they had 3 of their troops captured. Unfortunately, what happened, and there's a much better description of it if you want to pause and look at it closely, go right ahead. Unfortunately, one of the problems was that this meant that they lost the element of surprise in terms of attacking Tucson, which was under Confederate control at that point in time. Now, what we are going to do is we're actually going to go through the Harrington Loop. It's a small loop. It takes about a half an hour depending on how fast you're walking. I was walking with little Amara here, and so we took a little bit longer than you normally would. There's my nephew, and in a second or two you're going to actually see my sister Pam. That's his mom. There she is. And when you go out to any desert region, one of the biggest things you should do is always to take water. You should also take something for your dogs to drink out of. So that way, in case they get thirsty, because they do get thirsty too, they will be able to have something to drink. Now, as I said, this was the site for the westernmost battle of the United States Civil War. And one of the things that happens out here is we do have reenactments. In fact, on March 21st or 22nd, this particular year, we had a reenactment of not just the battle itself, but also some of the battles that took place nearby, both in Arizona as well as in New Mexico, which was the New Mexico Territory at that time. That piece of artillery you saw was not historically accurate. There was no artillery in the particular battle. Now that is a dead saguaro cactus tree, and I'll go into a little bit greater detail about those particular trees. That is a desert marigold. Isn't that beautiful? In the desert, we do have flowers, and they do bloom in springtime, especially if we've had a very wet and rainy winter. This winter has been kind of moderate. We have had a lot of rain. However, it's not enough to actually go past the drought conditions that we are in. Oh, there's Amara doing all her adventuring. And so, as I said, I was going to go into a little bit more detail about saguaro cactuses. Saguaro cactuses are very slow growing plants. They do live for a very long time, 150 to 200 years. And as they grow, they spout off little sections and little branches. You can see one right there in front of us off of that particular example there. And they do serve as homes for home for birds. They do provide quite a bit of protection. And a couple of the birds that actually live there would be the Gila woodpecker, gilded flickers, and quite a few others. Now, when it comes to the desert, as I said, it does have very little water, but it does have plants that do create fruit, and saguaro fruit is harvested by and I'm hopefully going to get this right, I'm terrible with names, the Tohono O'odham, or desert people, and they use that as some of their sacred rituals, and they also use it because it's a nice fruit to eat. They also use the spines from those particular plants in sewing. So you don't just need to have the metal ones. You can also go ahead with the spines off of a saguaro cactus. Now, don't rush out to the Arizona desert and grab one for yourself. It is against state law to harm them, as well as if on federal land, it is against federal law for you to harm a saguaro cactus. Unfortunately, we had to institute this law because too many people were grabbing them and taking them home and not treating them carefully. The only way to grow one is to grow one from the seeds of the fruit, and since they don't flower very often, it's not a good idea to come grabbing whenever you come out to visit Arizona. Some of the other stuff that we are looking at, besides the desert marigold and the saguaro cactus, are things like the teddy bear cholla, as well as before the end of this particular video, you will actually see a prickly pear cactus. And that one has a lot of fruit, and you can in fact actually typically buy the fruit. In fact, actually at the gift shop here in this state park, you can buy some of the jelly that is made from that particular plant's fruit. You also see the velvet mesquite tree, and you can also see the palo verde. There's several different types of palo verdes that I can actually see in this particular shot. And I have provided a link for you to actually take a look. So there you go. This is our little adventure. Thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And again, subscribe, thumbs up, love from Amara and me. Bye.